to tell
God.
you what I know.
Okay.
The Hlinka Guard was came under the auspices of the Ministry of the Interior in the Economic Office, which was also the office that was responsible for Aryanizations, but they were also responsible for all anti-Semitic measures. And they are best known for taking Jews to the train stations, but they would go into Jewish homes and literally terrorize the people in their homes and confiscate whatever they wanted. They could come at any hour of the day or night and say, "Show me your papers," and rough them up and intimidate them. And they became, after the Nazis invaded Slovakia after the uprising, they became even more radicalized and assisted Einsatzgruppe H with murdering people and putting their bodies into mass graves. But their job was to implement anti Semitic measures on the ground. So if there was an ordinance that all Jewish people had to turn in their furs, and there was such an ordinance, they had to bring them to the Guard office, things like that,
Okay.
or radios, or
So not really. So what I'm getting from that is not really a good comparison with the SA. Maybe just a comparison with the Hungarian gendarme would be a better comparison, or maybe even the German SS.
that is something probably Ava could probably talk to.
Well, I think that the Hlinka Guard was something like the Hungarian Guard that is functioning right now as well. So that's not a militia now, what's going on in Hungary, but it's a group of neo-Nazis who are allowed to march. So before the war, before the Second World War, anti-Semitism was a different thing, and the laws that were regulating uh, these things were also different. So now what they can do in Hungary is only to march. But then it was a different thing from the Slovak People's Party. It was a nationalist party, and the militia was maintained by them. So,
So I just want to ask
so
you, Eva, because I think some of like if people are listening to this in the country I'm in at the
yes.
moment. So you said that
Hmm.
there's a kind of neo-Nazi Hungarian gendarme group that marches in
Yes.
Hungary now out in the public, and
Yes.
that would be quite shocking to people in different in like maybe not in America obviously after Trump, but definitely to
Yeah.
in England, like a neo-Nazi group openly marching. How big is this group, and are they just like are they like crazy people on the fringe, or is this like a normalized thing in your
So it's
country?
it's
Well, not
called
in.
the Hungarian Guard movement. Okay, so that's what the official English name is, the Hungarian Guard Association for Preservation of Tradition and Culture. I just looked it up in the internet. So I'm sorry, but it doesn't exist anymore. It used to exist until 2009. It was dissolved. Uh, Now, the president of the association was Gabor Vona, who is a Hungarian historian, teacher, and former nationalist politician who led the political
Wow.
party of Jobbik. Maybe you heard about
Oh,
Jobbik.
Jobbik, sure. Hmm.
And he was the party's candidate for the position of prime minister in 2010 and
Wow.
14 and 18 in the elections. He served as a member of the parliament. I don't really know what's up with him right now, but there's many other names uh, in Jobbik. It's Jobbik actually is now they are saying that Jobbik is becoming uh, more of a leftist party. I don't want to mix up things in people. It's a very smooth movement of the Jobbik, what is going on right now in Hungary, it's a very strange thing. They are not anymore anti-Semitic.
That's
So the
that's
guard
interesting
is what
because
we call.
that's interesting that they would become more left wing now because surely Hungary at the moment, with the majority that Orban got at the last election, why would you don't need to become more left wing. You can go more right if you want because Orban won a majority, an overwhelming majority, didn't he, at the last election?
Yeah, but they were always an opposition. So
Right.
they were in opposition. So now there's only opposite, only right these parties in the government. There's no opposition, and then
Hmm.
so it's very
S-
mm, fallen apart the opposition. So this is why Orban could win the last elections as well.
I've got a question that I think our listeners will be, and like I'm going to put this to both of you that I think our listeners will be interested in. First of all, to Eva, is Hungary getting more or less anti-Semitic at this moment in time? And obviously, the same question to you, Madeline, is
Oh,
Slovakia
this
getting
is
more
my
or
next
less
quote. My
anti-Semitic?
next quote is about it.
Okay,
This is a
do you want to
very,
read
very
it then?
interesting
And
question.
okay,
This is a
read it
very
then, and then
interesting
we'll
question
discuss.
because, yeah, okay, it's connecting to the anti-Semitism as well, but it's not really about it. It's on the eighth page. On January 21st, 1939, a conference was organized in Žilina for 400 participants and 200 guests. The participants issued a statement that, quote, all Jewish fellow citizens place all their abilities at the service of the economic reconstruction of Slovakia so that their business activities can be directed with understanding for the needs of the Slovak nation, quote, end. Because of its purportedly Zionist orientation, Orthodox Jews did not participate in the conference. They wrote their own separate communication to Tiso on January 6, 1939, stating that their aim was to cooperate and participate in the great work of building the new Slovakia. Both organizations helped Jews with immigration, but were otherwise ineffective. Now, my question to Madeline about this, do you have any idea on what separates the Jews when it comes to being in opposition or on the side of a totalitarian regime?
Wow, great
I
question.
think that both
Big
of
question.
these, yeah, it is a great question. I think both of these uh, groups of people were afraid. They had been seeing what had been going on in Germany, and they knew that there was going to be an alignment with the Nazis. And I think that they thought that their best bet was to profess their loyalty. And I think they were frightened and just they didn't know how to agree with each other. They both basically stated the same thing, and a group of Jews went to visit Tiso in October of 1938 to do the exact same thing because they saw they were very afraid. They just knew that they should be very, very afraid. And it's interesting because just today I was reading about the position of the Lutheran Church in Slovakia, which was also fearful because of the amount of Catholic domination in the regime. They were also fearful for what was going to happen to them, and they did the same thing. They went to Tiso and said, we want you to know that we are excited about building this new country with you. And they also did it from fear, not from the same kind of fear that Jews had, but fear. I think that those are fear-based statements.
Okay, because that's a very interesting thing that the Jewish community is used to be always on the side of the government. This was a thing in the Turkish occupation of Hungary. This was a thing in the Franz Joseph times. We have prayer books from Hungarian Hebrew prayer books in Hungary that would have the blessing of Franz Joseph in them. I was at a wedding in Istanbul where I heard the blessing uh, at the wedding to the Jewish couple of Erdogan. It's a the Jews are on the side of the government many, many times. And then also, this is what's happening now in Hungary, that there is this ultra Orthodox sect, in the good meaning of the word, the Chabad house, and they are on the side of the government, which is a very, very small group of people in Hungary. And there is the huge Jewish population between 100 and 160,000, according to the last year's census, which is representing the neolog Jews. The neolog is a special branch of Judaism, which started when the Reform branch started in the second half of the 19th century, and it's a very special branch of Judaism in the in the territory of the historical Hungary. So it also exists in Slovakia and
Oh yeah.
in Czech Republic, some of it in Austria, still very few. And in Slovakia, the Jews are very friendly with the Chabad, who are also Jews, but they are from outside of Slovakia. So there is the Chabad chief rabbi in Slovakia, and they are, as I see it here from Tel Aviv, all my family in Slovakia, they are very friendly with the Chabad leadership. And in Hungary, there is a huge dispute, a huge fight between the Chabad and the Neolog Jews. And then this is why I was thinking about this, that maybe so. And the Chabad is obviously on the side of the government in both countries.
So